Okay.
Hi, Lana.
Hi,
Hi,
Leah.
Lana. Hello. So we're doing a deer today. You'll see in the thread. So for those of you who might be watching this recording and doing a black and white pencil drawing, you're going to be working very closely with this black and white sketch. And because the rest of us are working in watercolor, we are also going to start with the watercolor sketch. As we go on to using color, you're going to be using your pencil to create blacks and darks and lights. And let's see. And so if you are new to drawing and you're going to use a grid to draw, you have two options. Here, let me spotlight. So you can take a piece
Sorry,
of
I don't think
paper.
I'm on the one.
Were you not in class last week?
No.
Oh, that's why. Okay, hold on. Let me get you on WhatsApp. Okay, now that you're on, then you don't ever leave.
Here.
Okay. If you want to leave it, let's put it this way. If you want to leave, it's you get to do it. You can do it. Okay. And hang on one more second. Okay. So those who are on the WhatsApp thread have a picture of a deer. Hold on. I'm going to send it again so you see it. Have a deer, this deer in color. So if you're going to be working in pencil and you're going to be doing a grid and you're working from a piece of paper, if you don't have a ruler, you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half 4 times like this. 2, 3, 4. You'll open it up and you will see that your paper is divided into 16 equal rectangles. If you don't want your paper to look like this and you have a ruler, you're going to do with the pencil what I'm about to do with a marker on this source. So watch carefully and repeat after me. And those of you who are working on watercolor can also use a ruler to create your grid if you would like using pencil, but go lightly because you're going to want to get rid of a lot of that. Okay, so here's the halfway point. I happen to be using this inches ruler, but you can use either inches or centimeters. You want to find the halfway point because this is an A3 size piece of paper or A4, I can't remember, or an American size printer. This is 8.5 inches and half of 8.5 is 4.25. So I'm marking the 4.25 place and then I'm going to find the halfway point between each of these halves. So that's 2.2 and 2.2. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here at the top. 4.25, 2.2. 2.2. And then once I get those in, I can just easily line this up. I want to double check something. This thing is in the way, so it might be affecting where I laid my, oh, come on. Oh, that's exactly right. Notice that sometimes you think things look right and they're wrong. This is exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's right.
All the
so
time.
the point of drawing and the point of this grid is to teach us how the rules, the language of drawing, the drawing 3 dimensions, the appearance of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional plane. And a lot of what happens is things are smaller than we think they are, or things that look wrong are actually right. I'm going to do the same thing on the long side of the paper. This is 11 inches, 5.5 centimeters. Totally works as well. Oh, wait, I'll finish here. Half of 5.5 is 2.75. Notice I'm actually relining up my ruler because I don't like adding, because I find inches annoying to deal with. So So trying to add like 3.75 to 5.5 just is like too much work. It's much easier. This line is 28 centimeters. It's so much easier to do it with centimeters. So if you've got that, do it. 7.5. But I like this practice because it kind of gets me, it slows me down from whatever other thing I've been doing, right? We're often coming to these classes in kind of a chaos state. And so this is a nice kind of, it's like breathing at the beginning of a yoga class, kind of get you where you need to go. So I'll take a picture of this. Well, actually, let me start with the first lines. And as usual, and I feel like I can't really emphasize this enough, our first lines, I know you guys are all pros at this, but we're thinking maybe some people will tune in who aren't. Our first lines are always, well, number one, we're really focused on the subject. And number two, we are just doing the outer lines. Notice I'm not even drawing the inner shape of this deer's legs. We're going to get that on the second round. And I'm only getting kind of the pictures of the dark shapes. Right. There's a tree here. I may or may not put that in. I very often decide to simplify my drawings when I'm working this size, which is basically 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11. I find that like you can't really get more than one subject. So people worry about how am I going to get the snow and what about this here and these little dots here. Don't even think about it. You're probably going to ignore most of it. You're not going to need it. So here are our first lines. So I'm going to eyeball this, but I will put this up here as my drawing. I do like this bigger notepad. It is easier to show things. Come on, buddy. There we go. Come on. Don't. What happened? Okay. What I want to be able to see is both sources. I've had people, and I'm going to, of course, use a pencil to start with. I've had people ask me often, well, what do you do if you don't use a grid? And my answer is always, wow, that is a big, long answer. You get to be a better drawer. So what does that mean? So what do I do if I've moved beyond the grid? What am I doing? And having said that, that doesn't mean I won't make mistakes. But
you're using the corners and you're using the empty spaces, whatever you call it.
Yeah, negative space. I use negative space. Yeah. I kind of establish the subject, the height of the subject, here to here, right? And then I use this to see, once I've established my vertical distance, this is a lot like we do with this is a lot like what we do with figure drawing, right? We find the vertical distance. And in fact, if we really want to be anal about this, we could totally do a heads down on this guy. What do I mean by that? For those of you who have not taken figure drawing, from here to here. So if I go 1, 2, exactly 1, 2 heads down, 3 heads down, 4 heads down. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has exactly 4 heads down, not including his head. So if I want kind of randomly establish, let's say, let's check and see if I've got this right proportionally. I'm like, okay, I think this is from the top of his head, not including his ears, down to his nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it comes up a little bit higher. I want to make my deer that size. This is the top and this is the bottom. A lot of people say, well, what if it's not the same size? But proportionally, things will still be the same. It doesn't matter if you're going bigger or smaller. So this is what happens. This is what you start to get better at when you're drawing. A lot of people who've been drawing their whole life struggle to explain this, right? But that is what they're doing. They're kind of laying down something and then they're using something else to kind of judge how big or small things are. There's another thing I can do once I've done this. I can check and see, like, let's see, I can use the head to see how wide he is. He's basically a little bit more wide. It's about to here. 1.5 heads, really. Or I can use the grid, right? I'm just talking about like what you do if you're not using the grid, and this is what you're kind of doing. The other thing that's really hard for people to see is that you're kind of guessing, and that is hard for some people. Some people are like, once I put my lines down, I can't get it right. Let's see. I'm also looking at this bigger, kind of longer line, but we know that we can't really get anywhere. I can also see kind of where things started in 1, 2, 3. Here's where his little legs start. So he kind of bends in a little bit here and comes down. I'm going across. Once again, I can check and see the width from here to here is really slightly larger from here. So you see, as I start to kind of go up, and you'll see this deer feels like he's a lot skinnier than he should be. That's because we're looking at him from the front. Is this helpful, you guys, to see me do these drawings and kind of talk through these problems as we're doing it? Or would you prefer I not?
I'm not seeing anything, but I think it's my computer. It keeps telling me my network bandwidth is low.
Why aren't you, so you're not, what do you mean you're not seeing anything?
All I see is the deer with the grid. I don't see this, but I don't see what you're doing.
Oh, well, you should be seeing the whole thing. I mean, you should be seeing the drawing too.
I see the drawing.
Yeah, something's wrong with your, yeah, try jumping back in. I don't know if you guys saw, but I also sent in, because I was thinking about her today, my Aunt Olive, the painter, did a lot of deer late in her life. There were a lot of deer in Santa Fe, in the neighborhood where she lives. And what?
I see it.
Great, excellent. That's what we want. So I added in some, I sent some photos of her. And of course, now that I'm here, I'm now starting to kind of get in the basic shapes, nothing too radical. And of course, because we're working in watercolor, yeah, this doesn't feel right. Okay, so 1, okay. No, it is right, okay. Anyway, I sent in how she does deer because there's a particular way she does deer that I just think is really beautiful. My aunt was very captivated by Santa Fe when she moved there in 1920. She was a very successful artist and illustrator in New York. She worked for a lot of magazines. She trained at the Art Students League of New York. And she left all that to come to stay in Santa Fe. And she was captivated by nature and also really loved the Native American culture, which she saw as being pretty much destroyed. She's definitely not, she was not one of those white ladies that was like kind of trying to take advantage of it. I feel she really did a lot. She was very affected by the way the Indian kids painted. She painted a lot with Indian kids. Anyway, and also she was very affected by her life as a Quaker. So Quakers like silence. They have a religious meaning which is defined by silence. And her deer are very, I'll send them across for those of you who are late to the game again, so you can see them. And her deer are like, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. They're like little gentle meditations on paintings. They're very simple. What did I do? Phone. As I've been doing all these, hold on. Huh. Oh, I bet I see it. So this is what happens in the 50s, right? You forget where you put everything all the time. Like you remember things that you did 20 years ago, but you forget what you did with the thing just a second ago.
Sorry, you're wrong. That's in your 80s.
Oh, God damn it. I knew I was a superstar, an overachiever in some way.
That's already happened
Okay,
to me.
This is a
For a
hand,
long time
this is a
now.
hand check. My phone is not in my hands.
Sorry.
So what the hell did I do with it? Where is it? Where is it?
Well, I'm not the only one who
Does
does
somebody
that.
want to call me? So I can find what I did with my phone.
I'll call
You
you.
lost your phone?
I can't find it. Yeah, it was here just a second ago. Thank you. Where is it? I can't. Oh, I see. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Jessica. It's just under something. All right. I want to take a picture of this so you guys have it to look at closely. Here we are. Let's see. Yeah, I'd say that's been the biggest bummer news. Sandra's cancer.
Oh, it's so sad.
And it's just so fucking like advanced. It's advanced.
Well, the torture will be worth it if she beats it.
If anyone can beat it. All right, Diana, you got that one done. All right, but here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you some of these sketches that my great aunt did later in her life when she was quite an accomplished artist. She could do pretty much everything. Look at all these. Come on. Can't I
Are you
send them
sending
across?
them or are you showing them?
I'm trying to send them again. I mean, I put them across the thread. They're already there. But for those who didn't join, I don't know why the hell. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. They're all coming through.
They're coming through now.
They're coming through from a book. So you'll see how elegant and
Beautiful.
And
Oh,
she
this is
was
beautiful.
very affected. I believe her art was very
Look Asian.
affected. Yes, she was very, everybody was in the 20s. And look at how free she is in her work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like she's done, and I want you to imagine, you know, this is a woman who was trained classically in the classic way through art school models. And she, I believe her strength was really that she said no a lot. She kind of did what she wanted to do.
Mhm.
Anyway, she was quite a gifted artist. And towards the end, I feel like those deer are like like a breath, you know, they're like a meditation breath. The way she paints them is really amazing. I probably have told you this, but she studied art with Diego Rivera in the 30s.
No, you haven't. Not
Yeah.
that.
Oh, she studied. I mean, my aunt was the shit. She was in her lifetime a very well-respected artist in Santa Fe. She and Georgia O'Keeffe shared a cat, Anselmo.
Oh,
Got to. My aunt was actually the first woman artist to be offered a solo show at the Palace of Governors in Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1916. And so she traveled there. So she earned a bunch of money doing like 6 magazine covers for American Magazine in 1914. And then she took all that money and she was in her late 40s, her mid 40s. And she traveled, she spent 6 months traveling from New York by train with her father and her sister from New York to Santa Fe. And she got to Santa Fe and just loved it. And painted and painted and painted and painted. And Jessica, she was like you. She would just go anywhere and just plant her skirts in the ground, in the dust. Like I read there's a great memoir of hers. It was the same, she had gotten, like she found out on this trip that she had gotten she had been in Paris the year before, and one of her paintings had been selected for the 2014 Paris Salon, you know.
oh,
So she was good, right? Like she was really good. And then she's writing to her friend, one of her painter friends, and she's like writing about finding this very poor village, Indian village in the mountains. And she just sat down, she spread out she's like, I just spread out newspaper, I sat on the ground and I painted and sketched them all day until they weren't afraid of
awesome.
anymore. And they came up, and she has paintings from that time that are really, so she was a phenomenal artist. She ended up coming back to anyway, the paintings that she did sitting on a piece of newspaper in the dusty road were part of the show that she had. So she did this one woman show, and then 4 years later in 1920, she managed to move back to Santa Fe and buy a piece of land on what is now known as Canyon Road. But at the time, of course, was like just a dusty backwater. So she was a painter. And she painted her whole life. And then she left her house to the Quaker meeting. So when she died, to be used for Quaker things, Quaker meetings. There were only like 6 or 7 people in the meeting at that time. She was
Wait, weren't Quakers the religion that didn't believe in having sex and that's why they died out?
No,
No.
that's Puritans.
They got
Quakers
that wrong.
Quakers are really fantastic, except they don't really believe that much in art. We're having a lot of problems with the current Quakers in Santa Fe. My
or
family
in
is.
science, I assume,
What?
or in
Oh, they-
science.
They believe in science.
They do?
Science. Yeah, I think you guys are getting confused with cults.
They're-
Quakers are.
They're not Mennonite or something like that. They're
No,
very,
they're just non-denominational Christians. I mean, they're like what Janet is, Universalist. Sure, they're more like that. It's just that their meetings, you sit in silence for, they're actually pretty great. Although they believe in simplicity, they believe in like, Johnny. So anyway, my aunt was pretty incredible. And so I got to learn a lot about her there. I went and visited her house and stayed there last November, and I'm going to be writing a book about her. And if I can ever get back to writing again, it's kind of hard when you've been away from it as long as I have.
Well, did she inspire you to start painting?
Well, not directly, but she certainly talks to me now. I feel like she's very much a part of my I mean, as I've gotten to become a painter, yeah, actually she didn't, but as I began to paint, her spirit began to talk to me. So, and then I began to learn more about her, and she's pretty incredible. So
What's
you'll
her name?
notice. Olive Rush.
Olive Rush.
Olive Rush. There's a lot of work on hers. Let's see. Where my family is actually in kind of a legal battle with the current Quakers because it's a long story, but they suck. They're really terrible people, not being very Quakerly. They want to sell, we think they want to sell the house on Canyon Road, and we feel like it's kind of a monument to her. She's got a lot of the same things, and that they shouldn't, and that she actually caused them to sign it, forced them to sign. She gave them the house with the idea that they would use it to preserve her artistic legacy and use it for Quaker purposes. And instead, they're trying to sell it for, it's worth a lot of money now. They're trying to sell it so they can build a new Quaker meeting somewhere else. And we are saying that's, anyway, we're going, they took us to court, so we're going back to challenge them. So it's like there's a kind of a little bit of a mess here as we're going forward. But yeah, she's an interesting woman. She was a very interesting woman and a pretty phenomenal painter. And anyways, back to these, really, truthfully, it was just the deer. Oh, I see. Okay.
They look very spiritual.
Yes. I feel like her Quakerness, so Quakerness is about simplicity. In a Quaker meeting, you sit in silence there's no leader. And everybody has to agree. If there's going to be any action taken, there has to be complete agreement. 100%, or it doesn't get
Yeah,
done.
they're very confusing.
Yes, except for these Quakers who have actually filed a lawsuit against everybody in the meeting because they want to do this thing with the building and not everybody in the meeting wants to do it. So they filed a lawsuit naming everybody in the meeting as like contestants, like people who should have no say.
Well, Quakers can suck too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I mean, just like everything, right? In like, yeah. So anyways, but yes, the whole thing about Quakerism, it's very about simplicity. It's about non-hierarchy. It's about consensus. It's about community. And it's about, it's about quiet. So I feel like when she got to, and her house was the place where they met. And they actually gather in her studio. Being in there for a meeting is unbelievable. I mean, it's phenomenal. It is sort of an accidental time capsule. Okay, so I remember how we were talking about, I'm not sure I want to get into these details. I'm going to ignore for right now this tree because I don't think we need it. We might need it. But right now I'm going for simplicity.
Leah,
Yeah.
Channeling Olive.
aren't you Jewish? Was she a Jewish Quaker?
No, my dad was Jewish and my mother converted.
Oh,
But my grandmother, my mother's side was Quaker and my mother was raised Quaker. So on my mother's side, everyone is very Quaker. And then my mom converted to Judaism when she married my dad. So I was raised Jewish, but I was also kind of raised, I was given the option to go to Quaker meeting. I didn't go very long. Jews are kind of easier to believe. Jews are really very I think because of the Holocaust and just all the other shit that like has happened to Jews are like, yeah, we don't really require you to believe very much. So it's an easier religion to sink your teeth into.
Tell that to the Hasidim who won't wear
Yeah,
masks.
well, they're different, right?
And we'll-
They're-
that's a little different.
Huge meetings, yeah.
Yeah, they're their own kind of crazy, but like, yeah, I mean, the Jewish God's a pretty angry God. So anyway, yes, there's Quakerism there. And my aunt was very affected by it. So she went to teach, she studied with Diego Rivera in the 30s in Mexico, and then came back and taught and was hired to paint a school on the Indian reservation, a mural on the school of the Indian reservation. And instead she said, nope, I want the kids, the Indian kids, to paint this school. So she totally directed them and taught them how to paint a mural.
That's awesome.
She was fucking awesome. She was amazing. She was really amazing.
Leah, when was she in Mexico?
30s.
Because and my aunt and their whole family, he was the head, which is the Quaker organization.
Really? I bet they
In
knew
Mexico,
you.
Mexico, Central and South. I think he started I think he started after World War II.
You're kidding.
So
So
that-
are you Quaker, Jim?
They probably knew people in common.
I bet they did. I bet they did. Are you Quaker, Jean?
Yeah.
You're Quaker. I didn't know that.
I have a whole branch of my family is, but
Oh, are
Our-
you a practicing Quaker? Are you yourself Quaker?
they're all very practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how my mother's side of the family is. So you know it, that we have a very similar relationship to that, that religion, kind of a sideshow, but not exactly you yourself, but like you can watch, there's a
Right.
whole side of your family. That's so fascinating.
Are there Quakers in New York City?
Tons.
Really?
Yeah,
I think
they
I
did-
should be a Quaker.
Oh, you
I want
love-
to go and sit in a room full of
wouldn't look at
people
them and
and
go,
be in
"They're
complete
they're not."
silence.
You can see that they are. They just look like normal.
You would love a Quaker. You would love a Quaker.
I think I would. I
You would
think
love
I
a
would
Quaker
love.
synagogue service. It's pretty amazing.
I think I need to check this out, and I'm actually serious for reals because
Oh, you should.
quiet,
You should.
simplicity. I
Right.
think
You should.
that's like
It's
right up
amazing.
my alley.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And imagine sitting in this room where my aunt's artwork is all around, and it hasn't changed because the Quakers can't decide what to do with the house, so they haven't upkept it. It's exactly like when she lived. It has all of her frescoes on the walls. It has paintings, framed paintings, and you sit there and there's all these little drawers where you pull them out and her paints are still there. It's amazing.
Oh my God. It's
it's
like
an-
Olana, but Santa Fe
Yes.
and a girl.
Yes. And a
Fucking
girl.
love that.
It's
a
it's an
girl.
incredible story, I'll tell you.
Why
That
do
one.
men get all the fame?
That is a
I have an issue with that. No, I really have an issue with that. Why men get
you
all
know,
the fame?
it's interesting. She had a lot of fame when she was alive. It's really more when she died that people forgot who she was. As long as she was alive and working, she was actually very well known. She was collected by presidents. Eleanor Roosevelt had some of her paintings.
Wow.
She had shows in New York consistently. She was constantly showing in DC. She showed everywhere. I mean, like every artist, she struggled like they do, but like she was consistently working and could support herself as an artist. And it wasn't until she died that like people kind of forgot who she was, which I think is sort of classic women's work. You know, you work really hard. So here we are, you guys, at this phase, and I want to go to the actual source so that we can do a little bit of practice mixing. So those of you who are doing this as a drawing, pencil drawing, you're going to want to freeze the video at this point, I think, so that you can look at this and use it for your source. I'm going to move it away for the moment because those of us who are painting are going to be doing some color mixing. I'm sorry, guys, I don't have an actual color photo of this today, but you've got it on the thread here, so you can see here. So we're going to do a little practice mixing before we try and put anything down on paper. So what would you guys say are the main colors as you look at this? What colors come to your mind?
Blue for the shadows for the snow.
Mhm. Blue with a little bit of orange in it, perhaps. Yep, so blue for the shadows. What about the deer itself?
Oh, I haven't-
Um,
oh, red.
very light burnt umber with mixed with some
Maybe
Yellow.
burnt sienna,
Burnt sienna and red.
burnt sienna red, well, burnt sienna red, and then burnt umber for blue for the shadow, and then maybe a little bit of yellow ochre in here. So let's write this light area, this light bit on his bib. You can't really see it here, but you can see it more clearly when you actually look at the photo. So look at the photo. So let's practice mixing the snow colors. If I just, the first thing I like to do is kind of lay out the blues. So this is the phthalo blue. That's not the snow color. Here's a cerulean blue. Definitely not the snow color. Where's my ultramarine? Where's my ultramarine? Yes, and this is my ultramarine blue. Right, so none of these are quite hitting it on their own. So I'm going to try mixing a little bit of burnt sienna, which is like an orange, in with my blue. And maybe I will also, hold on, let me get a blankie. I can clean off my palette here and do some mixing. Blankie. So nothing is ever, particularly when we're dealing with shadows, nothing is ever really just blue. These blues are a little bit too vibrant. So let's try mixing here. I'm going to get some water on my brush and clean off my palette here so I have something. I'm not getting other colors in, mixed in. I'm going to pull a little bit of my ultramarine blue and then just a touch of burnt sienna in. And when I do that, it's kind of gray. I like it, but it's a little bit too gray. If I add more blue to it, if that will change it. So still a touch of burnt sienna, but more blue. And see how I'm testing down here? Okay, this is a little bit better. But if I wanted to, I might even try, I know this is crazy. Somebody stop me here. A touch of phthalo in with my ultramarine and my burnt sienna. Let's see what happens there. I really like that. To me, that feels a little bit closer. So the mix again is ultramarine, touch of phthalo, and a touch of burnt sienna. And notice you'll mix it and then you'll lay it down and then you'll have to mix it again, lay it down. So I want you to just practice and send me some swaths. I'm going to take a picture of this so you can see kind of how these look. The big problem with Zoom is that it's really hard to see actual colors. So we need to really rely on WhatsApp for that. There we go. So there are some blues. The top three are just the blues themselves. The bottom three have a mix of some kind. And I can make that darker because I know in places it's darker. There we go. So I can make that a little bit darker if I want to. But your shadow is going to be blue with some kind of burnt sienna in it. Because burnt sienna functions like an orange here. And blue and orange are what?
brown.
Compliments.
Complementary colors, right? So we know that when we're trying to use complementary colors, if we're creating a kind of shaded or muted color, we want to mix some of the complement in with the base color to create that, to create a kind of muted neutral tone. And if we want the opposite, if we want things to pop forward, we're gonna put, let's see what happens when I put burnt sienna. If I put these two next to each other, they kind of pop each other forward. Actually, it would be better if it was a more dramatic orange like that. So complementary colors will pop each other when they're next to each other, and they kind of neutralize each other when you mix them on top of each other. Both things are valid. In this particular case, this is a mostly blue shadow. So you want to use much, it's not like you're taking a clump of burnt sienna and a clump of blue. You want to have blue with just a tiny touch. Mixing is so, you know, is such a big part of painting, and it's hard. So we're going to be spending more time talking about that. And before you go through, I'd like to see, there's Jessica doing it in oil. So she's showing us our mixing in oil. Excellent. Anybody is working on this, I'd love to see your color mixes before you actually start painting. So please show me some mixing. Definitely burnt sienna is a part of the equation. I want to see what for the light part of his body. I think there is some ochre in there as well. I could be wrong.
That's
I
a lot of
haven't-
yellow ochre on my end.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of yellow ochre, don't you think? So I'm
Mhm.
mixing
Yeah.
burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Burnt sienna. I feel like that's what's happening. And if I want to make this lighter, I just lighten it, right? And if I want to make it a little brighter, I might even add a little bit of cadmium yellow into that mix. You want to be careful not to get too dark. So we're actually going to start with the dark parts of the deer. So go ahead and mix a little ochre and burnt sienna, watery for the lights, and show me that part too. And then let's see here. What else does this deer have? Let's try burnt umber and ultramarine blue as usual for this really dark part of the deer. So we'll take burnt umber. I'm going to mix it in with this is burnt umber and ultramarine blue for the dark part of the deer. I like that. I may have to go back in and add more blue to get exactly, yeah, there we go. That's kind of a warm dark. Burnt umber and ultramarine blue are my kind of go-to darks. However, it's a warm dark, which I feel this deer really is. If I was mixing a cooler dark, like maybe the dark of a tree, I might try Viridian green. I'm going to do that now just to show you what it looks like. And alizarin crimson. Two kind of dark, cool colors, which create I might not actually have, oh yeah, there we go. More green in there. That creates a kind of cooler dark. But I think for the deer, this warmer dark. And then of course, we're gonna leave the whites untouched. I'm starting out this painting session. So go ahead and send in your mixes if you would like me to review them. Maybe this is enough information for you. I've given you enough. I tried to get people in this group to send me stuff last week and you were all like, no. So, however, some of you could use it, some help. So just know that if you're not going to send in your colors, I want you to pay close attention to your mixing. Make sure you're getting what you like. So I have all these down here before I've even started. You can't even see my deer right now because I want us to practice these. Here, I'll send these all in. I think this is pretty much what we've got. I also like this because it's kind of more organized. It's way more organized than I usually like to be with my paintings, and I always appreciate that. I've kind of given you guys my bad habit of just doing all your mixing on the canvas. And as usual, we're going to definitely start with the darkest parts of this painting because we don't want our lights to be too dark. And the only way we can do that is to start with kind of a light version of this painting. So, let's see. We're going to go here. So let's do ultramarine, sorry, burnt umber and burnt sienna. I'm actually going to start with the deer. The deer is our subject. I'm going to test down here. I'm going to add a little bit of, I want my deer to be warmer. I want this dark to be warmer. So I'm actually adding some burnt sienna. It's going to look kind of darkish, but yeah, it's got burnt sienna, burnt umber, and blue. And it's not going to be dark enough on the first layer. That is okay. It's better to have things to build up your darks with watercolor. As we know, we've all had the experience where we've gone too dark. It's interesting, you can already see it start to fade. I have to mix more. Blue. You might struggle to get the mix right. I'm pulling in a lot more brown. I'm having to get a lot more blue in there. Dip my brush in the water. There we go. And then, sure. Janet. Oh, you put in one of the cats. Jesus, that's fantastic, Janet. Honestly.
Really fun.
Honestly. Really, it's the top of the body here. When I look at the photograph, it's kind of from here to here that it's this dark kind of color and then very much just tiny on the edge. Very thin on the edge. That's fucking awesome. Are you trying to get that done tonight, Janet?
I finished it.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me look at it again.
I'm back at dogs.
You got a schedule.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna send this over. Janet, that's fucking great. Oh,
It's already been an hour.
oh my God, that's crazy. I know, that's totally crazy. Janet, I love it. The Tonka is it. The Tonka is it.
Yeah, that was the best idea ever. It was really fun.
So now you can maybe draw this deer. Spend the second half of the time drawing.
I
the
only
deer.
have half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fucking fantastic, and you ought to enter it in something. It's so weird and so great.
I love it so much.
I don't think anybody will be offended by it.
Nah.
Buddhists tend not to be offended by that kind of thing. Buddhists are like Quakers.
No. Yeah.
I liked what somebody said. If they're offended, they're not really Buddhist.
It's actually true.
Yeah.
If they feel offended, then they'll just sort of do a self-examination on detachment.
Exactly.
I love this so
I
very
don't
much.
know that lets me off the hook.
The thing that I love most about it is it reminds me of like those crime scene chalk outlines.
Yeah,
That's what she's doing.
Yeah.
That's what she's doing.
Oh, okay. No,
So the
okay.
Practicing
model,
that.
the model actually put masking tape on her bed and taped the web
Awesome.
to the ceiling and
That is totally Katie.
laid
that
down
is-
in the chalk outline for the post.
Fantastic.
Yep, that is a Katie thing to do. I can see it. So this is really the darkest parts of the, besides the nose and the eyes, which we're gonna wait until, and maybe a bit here in the, this is the darkest part.
Yeah,
of the
Janet, I
deer.
love that so much.
It's good, Janet. It's a it's an idea well executed.
Yep.
Bravo.
Super awesome. Good job.
Notice I haven't put dark everywhere because some areas are kind of dark but more orangey. So the focus is going to be a lot more on burnt sienna with the touch of blue. Like there's some I'm pulling in a little bit of blue from this mixture, testing it. Like it's just, in fact, I'm even putting a little cadmium red in it. So here, for example, there's kind of a light area that's a little bit warmer. It's in the shadow, but it's still a little bit more orangey. So I'm kind of laying it down here. And also here is a little bit more orange. So Jean, how's free life for you?
Was what?
How are you enjoying your free life? Is it great?
Well, actually, I started seriously looking for a job, and I've already got a headhunter who submitted me for 3 different jobs. So I don't know.
Of
how
course
long
you
I'll-
have. Congratulations. That's really great. I knew you wouldn't stay. So you better enjoy this because who knows?
Yeah, she was like, so when are you ready to start work? And I'm like, well, after the first of the year.
Oh, that's turning out very nicely, Diana.
Thank you.
After the first of the year. Good. Hold out. Hold firm. So I've got a few warm spots here I wanted to show you guys as I was going through. Slightly in shadow, but warmer. Now I'm going to go back in and darken this, but I want to go in and lay in some of my lights, including this big one here. So I'm cleaning my brush fairly thoroughly. I'll probably clean off. That looks great, Diana. That's really coming along.
I think I'm going to take a break and go back to the coffee beans.
Go back to your coffee beans? Oh, yes, good idea. Always good to have more than one project at the same time. This was burnt umber, ochre and burnt sienna. I think we decided the light areas were kind of reddish. And I think that is proving to be good. And I'm going into the water at least once to make sure these are light enough. It looks so gray on the screen. It's totally not. It's much more orangey than you'd imagine. I'm avoiding any areas that feel like they're white to me. So you want to have contrast here. You'll go over and darken these colors. You can totally do that. And make sure you're looking at the WhatsApp picture, because that's going to be the color photo, because that's really going to be your best guide. So to me, I see kind of a slightly darker, just here, light here, a little bit there. It's really easy to get too dark with this, so be careful. I might have just done that. I'm going in with a little cadmium red and going over this color because I think there's some cadmium red in here as well too. I want to be careful to avoid And then on this side, more cadmium red I actually like. Going down in here. It's kind of a white light area here. It's kind of light back here. Then I can go back in and darken my deer. Oh, that's really sweet. I'm gonna do another level of burnt sienna, burnt umber, and ultramarine blue. Let's lay another layer down. There we go. There's a little light area up at the top of the shadow here that's kind of orangier, so you want to save that. And one here on the side. There we go. And then I kind of want to feather, I want to blend out the edge where the light meets the dark. There's also a kind of a little dark area here. Little dark area, not too much, a little bit. Here, here. Janet, that's really phenomenal. I'm sorry, I keep going back and looking at it. You may have found your oeuvre.
My thing.
You may have found your thing, yes.
It is pretty fantastic.
It's pretty fucking fantastic. Yeah, bravo. I like that your thing is a little snarky.
I worked on
I
that.
love that it's snarky.
It's so, I like the snarkiness of it. It's really, it feels very fitting to this current mood. It must be nice to be able to do something and not feel so like restricted in what you do too, right? You have to be
I
so
like
careful.
that. I like that it starts with just a normal like figure modeling session and then kind of morphs into something crazy.
Yes. Okay, so the tree trunk, even though it is brown, will still have touches of blue in it. If you look here, you'll see it's dark on this side. Oops, I need more blue. It's really dark on this side. Not surprising. And it kind of comes up like this, and then it gets kind of more medium colored. Gets a little bit lighter and then super light here. In fact, hopefully, I haven't made that too bright. So I'm going to go in with burnt umber, burnt sienna, and a touch of brown, and I'm going to do a touch of brown. I'm just going to use more water at first. I might add more color in. Notice that right here, my light and my dark, my light and my medium look too much alike. This should be lighter. Is why the danger of working light areas too soon. And I'm not going to work on the, I don't want to work on the eyes yet. I want us to get, in the nose, I want us to get some of these shadows in. So now we're going to go to those dramatic blues with just a touch of burnt sienna. But really the focus is on the blue. So same colors, but a different emphasis. And the first emphasis, like we were kind of doing a half and a half thing with the darks here, because we wanted this to look more brown than blue. But now we really want our shadows to look blue. So I'm gonna actually, so although I'm using the same colors, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, and maybe at this time a touch of phthalo, the amount of burnt sienna is different, right? The focus is more on creating a blue that's kind of muted. So I've just got a little bit of burnt sienna there. I don't know, I'm still not getting, I'm gonna add a little bit of cadmium red. I think, getting closer. There are a lot of shadows. So I could start laying this blue color in.
Tomorrow in Portland,
Oops,
it'll be sunny
jeez,
with a high of
what
53
the-
and a low of 37.
Sorry. Okay, I just touched the side of my computer, my phone. I don't know how that happened.
We all wanted to know the weather in Portland
I
tonight.
bet you did, yes.
Well, I want to see if it's okay to go plein airing, which it seems like it is. So Leah, what's up?
I need to get my commission thing cleared, and then I will. I'm not as much of a plain error as I probably should be. All right, so I actually added a little cool quinacridone rose to this mix, and I like it. I feel like it gives me that slightly purple. I think I should burst sienna. I've got like 4 colors in here. There's probably a way to get this with just 2, but I gotta do it the hard way. Once again, starting with the darks. There are these kind of little white streaks in the snow, so leave them, out as you're going in. As Jean, you've got any advice for us on snow, having painted a bunch of snowy scenes? Less is more?
Yes, although I have to say that Jay Fogg, my boyfriend, gave me watercolors that are all they've all got like sparkly in them.
Uh-huh.
Oh, fun.
So I really water down the white sparkly with a little bit of the blue sparkly, and I just
And you like it?
the very light parts of the snow with it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, back in the
I
time
love
when
iridescent
lived in
paint.
snow, they always told us that if you catch the rainbow, you catch the snow because it has all the colors in it.
That's
That's
true.
true. Very true.
So notice I'm like kind of sketching in the snow here, or the shadows of the snow, and leaving the light parts light. And look what happens when you do that. We start to get, once again, this probably won't be dark enough on this level, on this layer. Let's see. We'll have to go back again.
So Jean, right when I posted that crazy photo of that drawing, Howard Goller tried to friend me on Facebook. That would be a pretty weird thing for him to see as the first thing, as the first post.
Janet, that Janet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna confirm this right now.
Yeah, let a couple more miles. Get your deer. No, you're not doing a deer. What are you working on right now?
I have to start my mugshot project.
Oh,
the
cool.
mugshot. That's such a cool project.
It seems like a good follow-up
Cool.
to this one.
Yeah, right?
So notice when I get to the front here, I'm actually even giving water. There's these kind of, the snow almost has a yellow tinge here. I'm gonna pull a touch of ochre. Oh, too much. Bad idea. But I'm letting what I have on my brush, this kind of blue, orangey, gray mix, kind of run down. And I'm applying the brush to let some whites come through, right? Kind of randomly, to create this sense of kind of light snow. There's light snow, there's kind of medium snow, and there's dark snow. I'm really focusing on those dramatic blue shadows though, as much as I can. Because I think those are so I'm not spending too much time at this exact moment. Let's see, like these are. Totally skipping that tree because that isn't helpful. So do you guys want to do a pastel lesson in waves? I know Janet does.
Yes.
Yes,
So did you see what my student did? Here, hold
yes,
on.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I just happen to have a beautiful new set of pastels just burning a hole in my,
Oh, lucky for you, via the Russian doll organization. Here, I'm going to show you. Here, I'm going to pull this, give you just a second to see. I want you to see this. I'm going to do a share screen so you can see this. This is what you would be doing, or some variation on this. So I have a student teacher, well, an assistant teacher who teaches a couple of classes. She's a former student of mine. She's been working with me about 3 years, and she's kind of graduated beyond the basic level. So now I have her teach, and she taught this to my students on Sunday, how to do that.
Telling us we are basic level students.
Yeah, they're just like you guys.
is amazing.
That is
It is amazing.
Now this is Marie's,
really nice.
yes, it's a huge technique. It doesn't require that many colors of pastels. It does require isopropyl alcohol or Gamsol and about 5 colors and sanded paper. So I can see if she's available. She does work full time, but I'm hoping I can maybe get her to take a day off, and I will pay her to teach you guys how to do this. Would you like that?
I would go to that. That's cool.
Yeah,
It's
I
beautiful
think
waves.
so. I'm thinking so. Isn't it gorgeous? Like, and I like this. She's got little techniques for how to do all this business here, and she will walk you absolutely step by step through this process. Like, you guys will definitely, you want to see what the students on Sunday did just to see. Oops, nope, I want to get back on this. Nope, we're still there. On Sunday, this is what the students did. They did. Here's Katie's. Katie is the woman who Janet drew. This is Katie's.
Great.
And she did great.
That's nice.
Here
She's
is,
not working on sanded paper though.
no, she wasn't. So interestingly, I think probably did not get as much of the technique. There we go. This is a guy named Joe, who is total beginner. This is, so yeah, she takes total beginners and, shows them how to do this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Here's Joe's. Here's Pat's. Pat is also, I would call a beginner. Been taking lessons for about a year. Here we go. So this is what some of the beginning students got out of that lesson. And if you want it, I can totally see if she's available to teach this class, and I will happily pay her to do it. I'll be here too. But Marie actually took a workshop from a woman who only does waves and has been doing a lot of them. So I figure instead of me doing it, it might be good for you to have exposure to someone else.
What's the name? Is it Lana Ballot?
I don't know the name of her teacher. I don't know the name of maybe.
There's a pastel artist named Lana Ballot, and I think she's in South Carolina. She does almost all seascapes and waves and water, and she's incredible.
It might be Lana Ballot. It might be Lana Ballot. She took a 3-day workshop with her and did nothing but waves. And so when I thought about it, I was like, she's probably Marie's the better one to teach this. She knows it. And she worked with Lana Ballot. So I'd say, if you're interested, I will see when she's available, if she's available, and get her to do it. I think it would be really great. I think you guys would enjoy it. I'd like to watch it. It's also really great layering technique as we move back to painting. Back to acrylic painting, which we'll do in January.
Could I try it in acrylic paint?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well.
Okay, I'm laying in some of these blues, and this makes me want to go back to the deer and add some of the facial features. So I am going in with a skinny brush and a dark black mix, same as before, ultramarine blue, and I'm leaving a little white dot here in the center of this eye. And I'm doing this. There's no real white dot in the other side because, and also this deer has a little eyelash on this side. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of comes over the eye like this. So I'm using a very skinny brush. I've moved away from the brush I was using to get these details in. And it's the same with here. There's this dark, it's kind of a dark outer layer that comes like a little drop cloth almost over and around the nose. And then it gets a little bit lighter. Just at the nose. And then there's a white spot. This will have to get darker.
I have to go, guys. Have fun for the rest
All right.
of
Bye,
Bye,
Janet.
Janet.
Hi,
the
Janet.
Bye.
You.
That painting was really tremendous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really truly was.
It just was really,
Absolutely.
truly tremendous.
I love how quirky Janet is.
Yeah, I think her quirk is really coming out in these. I think that's why she really loves these people that she paints with.
Yeah.
You'll notice, by the way, that around the eyes I've left, there's a little white area, but mostly it's kind of brownish. So now that I've got the color of the eye in, I'm going to go in. I'm going to try and leave a little triangle of white underneath and also a little bit of white on top. I can see I need to go back and darken this again. More dark, 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 dark. Send over how you're doing, guys, as you're going through. So notice there's not that much detail on this deer. That's kind of nice. And I'm doing a very light, let's see. I want the ears to stay white, but maybe the whites around the edge of the deer to get a little bit gray. There we go. All right. I'm taking some of this light gray to the side and here too, because it's funny, there's like these two layers of shadows on the snow. There's the really dark layers, and then there's these kind of light gray layers. It tends to seem to more be related to craters, like where there are specific footfalls. Going back here and mixing a little bit more of my dark.
I ruined the eyes.
It's what happened?
I made it, they just got too big.
That's what
I
happens
had
with
nothing to do
watercolor.
with it. It just happened.
It's really hard. That's why I always save them until totally the last.
Yeah.
It's okay. Keep working around the area, Jean. Maybe trying to darken around the area, or maybe you haven't gotten too dark or light yet, and that might help.
My coffee beans are so dull. So dull.
You
Send
should
them over.
have
Let's look at them.
I suspect you just haven't got your brights on yet, Diana.
No, but some of them. I'll
That you're
bright-
probably, I'm suspecting your water is dirty and you are needing to clean it. That would be my guess.
It is very dirty.
So there you go. You cannot get clean, bright colors with dirty water. So take
That
a
is
break
true.
and clean your water. And then you'll be able to get your light brights and let this dry, let this layer dry, and then let your light brights go over the top. Yeah, you'll get them. You just need to clean your brushes. Also, let's see here. I like in the places where you have a blue outline around it, Diana, these look sharper. They look sharper. This is looking great. I like it. Oh, she left, didn't she? Oh, fuck hell. Oh my God. Janet just posted this. It's so fucking weird. I love you. Oh, it's so weird. I love it. A friend, look at this, you guys. A friend of mine just posted how to prepare for a Zoom meeting. Can you see that the cat is duct taped to the wall?
That's fantastic.
That's so funny. Sorry. Oh, I love it. Jean, and it's possible, Jean, that your eyes will, if you let them dry, they'll lighten a little bit. In which
Yeah.
case you can go back over with dark, smaller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that might also happen. If you let it, you give it just a little time. That is the one thing about darks. I feel like mine's nose is a little bit of a mess.
Nose is a little weird.
The nose is really hard to get right.
Yeah, I agree.
Like a stop signal, but in dark.
Yes.
They have so big noses.
They really do.
My friend
Huge.
told me that deer are seasonal eaters. And if there is food introduced into their diet that's not local and seasonal from where they live, immediately they'll die.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like they're super sensitive.
Interesting.
Like they can't eat the same thing year round. I thought that was fascinating.
That is fascinating. But, you know, that makes sense. I mean,
It's just, stuff like that blows my mind because of just the incredible complexity and perfection of nature.
yeah. And that, yes, and that we are kind of, and we're probably the same.
There are
Probably,
people who say seasonal eating is better, and I think people used to eat seasonally because they didn't have the agriculture
Options.
technology. But I kind of think humans are one of the most resilient species on the planet
right.
because we don't all eat
Unfortunately,
the same
yeah.
thing. We don't. You take people from all around the world, you have different cultures, different cuisines, different local foods,
That's true.
but everybody does okay. It's fine. I think humans are just
We
maybe more
adapt
adaptable.
fairly well.
Yeah, to
And it's
basically
good
anything. I
for
mean, we
our-
also live in all climates.
It's very,
Look at
very
us.
good for our environment if we eat seasonal, because then we don't
That's
have
true.
to transport shit on aeroplanes and boats.
Yeah, yeah.
We totally could. And when the apocalypse comes and there's no internet anymore and we're all stuck like with our stores of food.
Yeah, can you imagine this pandemic and no internet?
I can't even. But
Well,
it would be a
most of
very
humanity
different.
most of humanity did not have. We're the first generation of humanity to have a pandemic plus internet. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, we are.
It's not
We
the first
really are.
pandemic, and it's not even the worst one.
Actually, and somebody was pointing out that in this election, this weird election was a lot like the re-election of Lincoln in 1864. That like there was a big split. Of course, then the Republicans were the sane ones and the Democrats were fucking crazy. If you remember, Lincoln was a Republican. But you know, Lincoln was very close to losing his election. And if he had, that slavery would, things would probably be a lot different in our country even today. It was a very close election.
Yeah.
Like this one. So I'm taking a black I'm taking a very skinny brush, and taking some of that black that I've used for the eyes. And I'm kind of going around the dark edge of the deer. And also kind of outlining the ears. I don't think this deer needs contour lines everywhere, but I think because he's so much the colors of what is sort of happening around him, that it will help to get a little bit of a strong, dark contour line to have him show up. And if you can see this, I feel like this line really helped him push forward a little bit. It's a little much back here. It's got to. And in fact, I may even stop here. There's other areas that you can add to this if you want to. You can get as detailed as you want with the shadows. But I think that snow pictures really benefit from pretty dramatic areas of white. So I also think it's really helpful to have these. I might do a little bit of work down here in the foreground, but not too much. Let's see. Give me just a second.
Invited to play in any reindeer games. Alien eyes. I need a smaller brush.
No, you never need a smaller brush.
Depends on your surface. You usually never need a smaller brush. Sometimes you do.
Watercolor paper, so maybe that'll make a difference.
How's everybody doing, by the way? Send me how it's looking.
I think I should stop working, actually.
So Jean, this is more than anything else a drawing problem. Did you eyeball this or did you draw this using a grid?
I didn't use a grid. That would make sense.
There's a real so I want you to notice you've like made his nose and his like this area way too thin. Look at how wide you've made his eyes just kind of right next to each other. So the shape of the head is wrong, which has made the shape of that's why things are messed up. Oh, by the way, Diana, that's really coming along.
Which one? The bear?
The one that you just sent. Oh, that was the same one. Oh, I like this much better than you think it is. It just needs a few brights. It just needs a few brights. Jean, I would say I want you to try drawing this. And also, this really has much more light and dark in the log
Mhm.
to it. And then I want you to pay attention to these. You have the lines. So yeah, it's all drawing issues. Let me show you what I mean. If you look at here we go. Your dear, look at how your lines are going this way. And these lines are really going this way. Look at how the shadows are actually going versus the way. So that's part of the issue. Is just not paying attention to, you're kind of randomly putting these in and you're not paying enough attention to the shapes. On this side, the shapes are good. On this side, we've got good things happening here. So try bringing in some darker lines across the shadows. I don't know what these are. I didn't. What I see, his legs are really going this way. Can you see that? If you look here, this is his leg shadows, and then here's another leg shadow. So I want you to pay closer. I want you to like when you fail in the draw, not fail. When you struggle in the drawing, you're going to struggle in the painting because you didn't really have enough room to work on his face here. Because his face is a little too small. So I want you to spend a little bit more time on the drawing. Try this one again with like more attention paid to this and give yourself a grid if you need to. Just to practice getting shapes right. He's almost like, if you look at it, now that I'm looking at it, he's almost like a square. See that? Almost like a square. In here, and then one, and then it's like 1.5 squares to the end here. I struggled with his face too. It was hard.
It was hard.
It was really hard. I'm not gonna lie.
It was hard.
I don't think
It
I
was
really
hard.
got his eyes either. So if it makes you feel
I
better,
have
Mom.
definitely done better deer faces.
Yeah, but you just weren't paying. It was all just not paying attention to the drawing and the direction that things are going. Because that helps with perspective and everything else. Not paying attention to that makes things feel a little bit more rushed and not very realistic. You know what I'm saying? It's all about shape, baby. Shape.
Why are paintings so freaking hard to photograph?
They're hard. Because so
It's
much is
harder to
happening.
photograph the thing than actually paint it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hard to get the right colors. It really
mine's
is.
Yeah.
actually really good. It's just the photograph that looks crappy.
It's
true.
It's okay. Hey, Jean, can you tell us any people who you're interviewing with, or is it all top secret right now?
It's all top secret right now.
Is it anybody that excites you?
Well, there's one company that's a not for pay less, but it's a company I would really be proud to work for.
I think I know who it is. Do I know who it is? Did we talk about it before? I won't say anything.
No, they have not called me yet. So.
Oh, interesting. I would have thought they would have been the first ones.
Well, they said they were accepting applications until the 24th giving. So.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't think you would be long. Which I'm sorry for you, because it means you don't get to like work very hard. Oh, Jessica. Yeah, I love your snow, Jessica. I love it.
Thank you. I put
Nana, that's
turquoise
coming
in it.
along. I would say that the same thing happened for you that happened to Jean. Your head is too small. So you're struggling to get everything to fit. Look at this little box for the head. It's always the drawing. We come back to the drawing.
Freaking drawing issues.
Freaking
I wish I
drawing
had no
issues.
drawing issues. It's always drawing issues. Always.
It's always, that's, for me, it's also always drawing issues when I have a problem.
Always drawing issues.
It's always the damn drawing issue. So if you see, Lana, we
Always.
just don't have, so we can see, although his little face comes in here, there's this whole triangle of shape that's kind of his neck on this side.
I have a question for you on my dog drawing because
Yes.
I tried to do like a floor and wall behind, but
Mhm.
it doesn't quite work.
Let me see. That's just because you've got a lot, you've got so much going on in the
Could I
flux
ask-
compass.
Should I skip it and not have that divide?
I would get rid of the divide.
Yeah,
Because I think there's a lot going on in the actual subject.
yeah.
So that's distracting. Good. That's a good call, Diana, I would say.
Should I, which color do you think is the background, the greenish or the bluish?
The bluish.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Easy to complicate things.
Right? Well, you want to get everything in. We've got about 10, 15 minutes left, so let's see what we can get done. Well, I'm excited for you, Jean, but I hope you get some breaks. That's what I hope. I just hope you get a break between this job and your next one.
Well,
How is Reg surviving without you?
Probably not.
he's doing it okay. I'm working with him on a personal project. So
Oh, yeah. Loves
he
you.
obviously can't live.
He loves you so much. I like Reg. Once Reg decides to take care of you, you're in. I can see that with him.
Well, he was like, than I do. So
I was actually getting ready to ask you to do some work for me, but it's probably not work that you know how to do. I don't think it would be hard.
anything you need.
All right, let's talk about that. We'll talk about that. I'll talk to you about it after. And I'll pay. Oh, Jessica, he's darling.
Thank you.
I love him. I like the way you handle your snow.
Thanks. You know why I know how to paint snow? And I'll be really like blunt about this.
Do it.
I did snow camp, which was a plein air workshop with Stapleton Kearns. And that is how I learned how to paint snow.
Oh, God, maybe we should have you lead a class. I'll pay you to lead a class
Yeah.
on snow scenes. It's not out of the realm of possibility, actually, to get, I think it's good for you guys to get teachers more than me. So
I'll do it. I will
I'll pay.
say plein air painting, and I do paint in the snow. Like literally, I have taken days off of work impromptu because it snowed because I want to go out and paint.
I believe that.
I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. Painting outdoors in the snow is the best way to learn how to paint snow.
Yeah.
And
You'll
I did
see
do
all
a
the
snow
colors.
workshop. You see all the colors. I'm so mad whenever it doesn't snow because I just want to go out and paint. Like I want snow this winter so I can paint.
Nice.
That's it.
All painting is better on location.
Oh yeah, 1000%. Or pastel. I do oils and pastels. Watercolor, You can do watercolor, but you have to deal with your paint freezing, and you could use rubbing alcohol.
Oh,
But I just bring oil paint. I go through a lot of solvent though. I will say that. Oil paint changes depending on the temperature. In the summertime and warm weather, it's real loose. When it gets cold, it gets real stiff and you need a lot of solvent. So bring extra solvent if you're painting in cold weather with oils.
And how does that affect the final work on the canvas?
So Stapleton Kearns said, which I agree with, that oil painting, like oil paint, the actual physical substance of oil paint,
Mhm.
tends to
Freeze
reflect
out.
its environment. No, it reflects its environment. So I don't think it matters on the end result, because when you're outdoors painting with oil paint, your painting is going to feel cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just meaning using a lot of solvent if that
You just
dilutes.
have to.
Yeah.
No, it's because it's so stiff. You can't go through the paint otherwise. It's
No, I
just so
understand, but
stiff.
on the canvas, doesn't it be more
No,
transparent?
it doesn't. It actually, using extra solvent when it's below freezing with oil paint brings your paint to normal consistency, because
Yes,
it just
that's what you
gets
have to do.
so stiff. Diana, when are you going to come to New York so I can take you painting?
When we can travel again, I would love
Good.
that.
I will take you. And I'm fun to paint with, because if I have a friend with me,
She
I'll
brings
bring you wine.
booze.
I will bring booze. And I have done this. I will drink wine in Central Park and paint. And it is amazing. I'm fun to
So,
paint with.
in sort of taking a little bead from Jessica, I've taken some sort of very watered down quinocridones, pinks, and laid it over in a couple places. I'm kind of going horizontally from left to right, just to create a little bit of texture and warmth, or not warmth exactly, because quinacridone is a cold color, but to add a little bit of rosiness to the snow. I like the pinks there.
So you know what I used for that, Leah, was so when I do I have a fixed palette when I go out for plein air. But when I'm in the studio, I like to experiment with a different palette. And my palette, I'll post a picture of it. It's all earths.
Yes, earth
As you
tones.
were saying
Interesting.
before, I start with earths. I can't paint without earths. I could paint without all the high chroma stuff. I cannot paint without earth pigments. So anything in nature, like Leah was saying at the beginning of the class, what colors do we use for the deer? Anything in nature is made up of earth pigments. It's just really easy.
Yep, yep.
So you go for your
Oh,
burnt
I see it. I
siennas,
can see it. I can see
your
it.
earth
I
reds,
can see it.
your yellow ochres, the snow. So for the snow, I used cobalt blue. I used an Old Holland paint that I've had. It's a wonderful one. You could get a cheaper version with the Blick, but it's basically a mix. It's a mix of ultramarine, white, and I'd have to look at the pigment code. It might have a little alizarin in it, but I'm
Okay,
not
it looks
sure.
like that's what I'm seeing. There's a little bit of alizarin in
There's
there.
that. But for my pinks, I actually used caput mortem, which is an earth color. It's an iron oxide, but your iron oxides have a full range from
Nice, Jean.
cool to warm. And for my purple, that light purple in there, it's actually a caput mortem, which tints to purple.
Wow,
Wonderful.
I love that.
I will post a picture.
Please do, of the palette. Jean, that's awesome. Is that a river?
yeah.
I love it. So go in and
It's-
darken your tree trunks a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And love that. What is that? What colors do you have in there?
Oh, I just start mixing all sorts of things.
Is it watercolor?
I started with a lot of yellow, just like a sunsetty look, and then I put some.
I like the yellow. Oh,
Pale.
great, Jessica. Thank you.
So,
Amazing.
Leah, if you see that color that's in the upper left corner, it's dark.
Yeah.
That's the caput mortem. And if you go into the lower center of the palette, that's what it tints to. It's purple.
See. It's purple and kind of a
And it feeds off the
magenta-y, a
turquoise.
kind of a
Mhm.
magenta-y purple. Very
Yeah.
nice. Jean, this is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. I agree, Jean. That's got a nice sense of distance.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that water actually reminds me of? Japanese woodblock prints.
Yes, I'd
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Leah, do
yeah.
you see that?
Yep, I'd agree. I'd absolutely agree. I'm looking at it right now.
I was trying to get a lot of the gold in it, gold sky. So
Yeah, you got it. Diana, your dogs are gorgeous.
Thank you.
That's a very successful painting.
That dog, that she worked, I gotta tell you, she busted butt on that painting. That was not an easy
That's
painting.
a very successful painting.
She had a
Beautiful.
shitty,
Picture.
yeah, shitty picture to work with. And she had to guess a lot on what was happening. She did good.
No, you did great.
It turned
It's
out
really
really
beautiful.
well.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
Leah,
Yeah,
did you send me Sandra's email or phone number so I can text her?
sure.
I just want to tell her we're thinking about her.
Yeah, I think that's
Can you
great.
put it in
She'll
the
take
chat
all
so
that
we can
stuff.
all send her good messages?
Yes.
I'll send her.
Let
a
me
me-
just include her in the chat. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I'll just add her
She
to the chat.
enjoys being on the chats.
Okay. Let me add Sandra to the chat and say, add her to the chat. And then I'll leave her a note to let her know why I'm putting her on the chat. Hi, Sandra.
But it's good that everyone is thinking of her. That must at
Yeah,
least feel a little bit good.
yeah. It is really upsetting though, isn't it, Diana?
Yeah, it is.
Everybody is thinking about you. It's and wanting to say hi. Okay, so now you can just tell her hello here. But if you want, Jean, I can also give you her phone number. I do have
Yeah,
that
that's
as well.
good. That's good. As long as I can send it to her.
Yeah.
I have a really bad cat. So, I mean, my cats are all, my picture of the cat is bad. So I'll let her know that hers are better.
My God, I hope she has a plan for those cats in case things get really bad.
I'm sure she does.
I'm sure she has. You do
I don't even
not,
wanna
no,
go
you do
there.
not think of your animals.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't.
So she's on our WhatsApp thread. now,
She's on our
right?
WhatsApp thread now. So
Good.
you see, I just sent a message to her saying, hi, Sandra, I added you so everybody could say hello.
Okay.
So now you can all say hello. All right, guys, we are at 8 o'clock or 5 o'clock, depending on where you are.
That's not fair.
I
No,
know,
it's not fair.
but don't worry, we are painting through the holidays.
Yeah,
Good.
and I'm doing a session tomorrow morning.
Oh, right, right. Diana has a session tomorrow morning. Can you?
Oh, Diana, what time is it? Because I might actually join it.
It's 8 a.m. our time, 11 a.m. your
Your
time.
time. So you could do a lunch.
I might.
You
I
could
have
just
to do
a
homework
lunch.
tomorrow. I can't go out painting because I have to
I'm
do
registered
homework.
yet. See?
So perfect.
Diana, where do I find your link?
On Leah's homepage.
Okay. Cool.
But
Thank you.
also it's on this thread, I think.
Yeah, I
You
think
put it
yeah,
on the
somewhere.
thread. Just go back down the thread to see where
Okay.
Diana, let me see if I can find it. But also it's in the email I sent, Jessica, it's also in the email I sent out to you on Monday.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
No, maybe it's not on this thread. All right, you guys. Great, wonderful
Thank you,
work.
Leah.
Hold on just
Thank
a
you,
second.
everybody.
I want to remove the spotlight so I can see everybody. So great to see everybody. Sorry, you can barely see me because of that. silly
Have
light.
to go to gallery view.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.
You too, Leah. Bye.
Yep.
Bye,
Ciao,
everyone.
Bellas.
Stay well.